tuned in to the one and only show, bringing you entertainment stories shaken, stirred, with a little sass and a twist of lime. It's Northwest Nightcap with K-Cee Deeva, y'all. Don't miss it.
What up, peeps? We're back.
Hey.
Been a minute. But we haven't forgotten about y'all. Hopefully you haven't forgotten about us. We're so excited to be back in 2025, new year. Doing something a little bit different now where we are we used to do the show on every first Thursday of the month. And so we switched it up a little bit. So we're now doing it the last Thursday of the month. And that's so we can kind of do a recap of the entire month, right? There's so much that happens. And, we just want to do something a little bit different. So here we are. We're back. We've got current events. We've got entertainment. And we're just going to jump right on in. So I love it. Did you guys like the new intro? I love the picture of bro and sis at the end, embracing, looking into each other's arms.
I like all the new pictures. Those are fly pictures.
Okay,
the most interesting man in the world.
Let's talk about.
There we go.
And in his most interesting man in the world, that was in Memphis, by the way.
I was about to say he got a whole M-Town thing going on.
That was in Memphis. Yes. So anyway, all right, let's do some introductions. So for the new folks joining us, my name is K-Cee Deeva, and we love talking about entertainment news, and I got my peeps with me. Near and far. So, of course, always ladies first. The beautiful, the illustrious Miss Princess Robin. Hello, Princess. Doing the float wave, the princess wave. I love it. She is also the host of Traveler's Guide to Venus and Mars, which airs, what are the call letters again, Princess?
DFWIRadio.com. Thursdays at 7 Central. So you can go listen to that show and then come check us out up in here a little bit later.
Yes. So yes, tuning out all the latest in relationship news and all that stuff. And then her hubby, my bro, our bro, Anthony's bro, Kurt K-Cee Clayton. Kurt, longtime member and musical director of none other than Confunction, 90s, 80s, R&B, 70s? 70s and 90s.
70s and 80s.
And 80s.
And 90s.
Right.
And some 90s.
Yeah. I was going to say 90s, but no, I had to go back a little bit further. Yes. So always a pleasure to see you. Now, in case you didn't catch that, Princess, you didn't catch in the photo in the beginning, Princess and our bro Kurt are married. So sorry, guys. She's off the market. To each other.
Happily married to each other.
Look at the hearts. I love the hearts. I would hope they gather that from the intro, but they might have missed it. So I'm glad you clarified that, bro. Married to each other. How many years?
Happily.
6 years in next week.
What? Oh my goodness.
Almost 6 years. Yeah.
Happy early anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
And I might add, they are both joining us from Memphis, Tennessee. So, and Ann and I have been there to visit them a few times. Always a good time. Last trip was New Edition, and that was fun.
Keith Sweat.
Yes, Keith Sweat. Guy. Yes. For sure.
It was great.
Keith Sweat comes.
That moment right there was everything to me.
Everything.
Great that was just like.
Yes, that was fun. And last but certainly not least, let's introduce Mr. the most important man in the world, as you saw in the picture. Posing with his, what was that, cognac or Hennessy or something?
I think that was just Crown. I think it was Crown Royal.
Was it Crown Royal?
I think it was Apple Crown Royal.
Most likely, yeah.
Well, when in Memphis, do as Memphis.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, DJ Anthony gets the party started.
Yes, yes.
He was so good that whole weekend. I was like,
That was
for the
fun.
business. Remember, I was like,
Yes.
he's
The
So
gonna
much
pre-funk
fun.
business.
So much
Mhm.
fun. So much
we might
fun.
need
And
to talk, Anthony.
let's not forget our
Huh?
taste test. The moonshine
Oh yeah.
taste test.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
talk about
This is
fun.
making me think it's
Woo.
time for another Memphis trip.
Yes,
And
I've
you
been
know,
saying that. I've been saying that.
Ed has been saying it. He has.
It's time to
We
re-up.
have to talk. We're gonna have to talk. All right, let's jump into some of these stories. There's a lot of juicy stuff happening in the month of March. Um, so we're just gonna dive on in. Let's start with some good news, I guess, for them.
Hmm.
Jonathan Majors and Megan Good got married. March
Hey.
18th, a private ceremony in their home. Good for them, because people be all in the business. I mean, I know they're stars, they're in the limelight, but as we know, Jonathan had some challenges. He was convicted actually of assault and harassment in December 2023 of his ex. Had to go to in-person batters counseling, I guess, as a result of it. And then he found love. He found love again with Megan Good, who finalized her divorce actually in 2022 from Devon Franklin. And people are kind of shocked by that. And so, I love to see Black love, especially. I love to see my
Hmm.
people. Of course, the internet's all a buzz, for a while. And now people are like, is it too soon? Is Megan kind of rushing into this thing? Should she slow it down? He, of course, denies, any assault and anything happened. And that was the whole thing. But, no, I mean, is it too soon? When is it too soon? I mean, maybe he really, is was innocent and was able to move on. And I think people are fearful. We watched Megan grow up on from a kid. Like her first role was in Friday. As a kid, I remember that seeing her as a little tiny
Right.
thing at like 13 or 14. So she's dear to our hearts. I think a lot of people are kind of fearful, like, okay, Jonathan, you better go easy. I don't know. What are your thoughts, bro? You think it's too soon? Is it too soon to fall in love?
No, because first of all, it's not like they're teenagers. You
Right.
know, they've both been in the industry for a long time. They're both adults. Everybody's gone through their ups and downs,
Mm-hmm.
and even from both of them individually, they both had their ups and downs,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
so when I mean I truly feel, from my opinion, when you truly find the right one, there is no time limit, or there is no too soon or too late. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because even for my lovely wife and I, we found each other, a little bit over 6 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and but at the same time, we were in the situation that we were never trying to get together or date. It
Careful
was
what
like,
you
hey,
say.
you know, but I mean,
Never say
but
never.
no, that's just it. You never say never, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, if it's right, and if it's
Mm-hmm.
if it's a situation where you're putting each other first,
Yeah.
and once again, I think they're learning from their mistakes. That's why
Mm-hmm.
even if they had a private ceremony and things
Yeah.
like that, and because that was kind of like a page out of our book.
Yes.
So, you
Yes.
know, because sometimes, when other outside forces get in the midst of your situation, it can kind of muddy the water. So kudos to
Mm-hmm.
them. All we can do is wish them well, and much success.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. Princess, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they rushed into it a little too soon?
No, I mean I agree with hubby, which we don't always agree on this show. But I would add to what he said, in addition to it not being anybody's business but theirs, we just feel like we have some agency into, or a window into their world, but
Mhm.
we only see what they let us see. We don't know what's going on between the two of them. But also, I would argue that
Mhm.
adversity they really stayed together through some adversity. And
Yes.
what I knew about my husband was how we navigated difficult situations was going to
Mhm.
be the thing that kept us together, right? Because
Mhm.
everybody can, be in there sunny days, everybody loves them, but can you stand the rain? And how do you
Better
you
speak
get
with this.
through that, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it could be that, going through that together, they really, leaned into each other, found strength in each other,
Mhm.
saw the good and bad of each other, and decided, hey, this is what I want.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I echo hubby. Kudos.
Anthony, you share the same sentiment?
Yeah,
Or-
I mean, I think, it's interesting coming from a DJ perspective.
Mhm.
It's kind of interesting because like the younger couples whose weddings I DJ, they want to go the big elaborate wedding and everything. Yet
Mm.
the older couples wedding I DJ, they do it small, just a couple of friends, little reception. So I think once you hit and I say this respectfully, I think once you hit a certain age gap, you just know, and you're like, you know what, let's just go ahead and do it. Like the song say, we ain't getting no younger, so we might as well go on ahead and do this.
Yeah. 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 I'm curious, Anthony, what do you consider older? As the youngest member of our group.
30 plus.
I
Oh
couldn't
my
stop.
goodness.
Shoot,
I couldn't
shoot,
stop. But
I'm
I was about to say tread lightly, bro, but too late.
Oh,
Sorry.
you're right, right. You can't save him. You can't save him.
Can't save him.
You can't save him.
I'm 38, but I get up and get up in the morning, bones is cracking as I'm walking to the shower and everything, bones just be
Oh,
popping. Yeah.
TMI. TMI.
oh, Anthony, it's gonna be
Shoot.
a hard road for you.
And you're only 38, Anthony. Yeah, you got a hard road ahead, my
I
friend.
gotta have my nighttime tea and everything. And yeah.
Not the calm tummy tea. Okay. Well,
Don't be taking
I'm
my
happy for
flat tummy
them.
tea.
I'm very happy for them. I think they're super
Yeah.
cute
Yeah.
together. Forget the internet trolls. They're a bunch of miserable people who just want to see other people miserable. I
Exactly.
say kudos to both of them if they found love and happiness. But Jonathan, we got our eye on you. Let you the girl right. So, all right, let's move on. Let's talk about track. Okay, I've been wanting to talk about this story. So I'm sure you all saw the viral videos of the track star, Virginia High School, the baton incident. Um, Anyone that saw the video, I mean, it was really hard to argue that wasn't done on purpose. So if you aren't familiar, the backstory is there was a track meet, Virginia High School. Aaliyah, I think it's Aaliyah Everett. She's a senior.
Hmm.
Um, she struck another Kayleen Tucker, another runner, in the back of the head with a baton. So it was one of the baton races. You hand the baton, you're running. Now, the video shows to me and to a lot of people online, from what I've read, it appears that it was done on purpose, right? You literally see the baton going back and going forward. She, of course, came out. She did an initial viral video on Instagram, and she was crying, and she's like, I'm being painted as a villain. It was an accident. We were kind of close together. The young lady that was hit, Kayleen, she said that they were kind of elbow and elbow the whole time. They kept bumping into each other as they came around the curve. In her opinion, she felt like Everett got mad and it's like, so she suffered a concussion.
Mhm.
She did say that she was diagnosed with a concussion and a possible skull fracture from it. So, she was charged, Leah was charged with misdemeanor assault and battery. There was just, again, in my opinion, and a lot of other opinions online, if you watch the video, it's real hard to say that wasn't done on purpose. It didn't look like an accident. Anthony, what were your initial thoughts when you saw the video?
Well, at first I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt because
Mm-hmm.
I ran track, and I can tell you that baton, when you're running, it's metal. It
Mm-hmm.
gets slippery because your hands are you're
Yeah,
holding it
gentleness.
for
Yeah.
dear life, and so of course your grip, you get slippery with your hands, so it's pot. And there's been times where I've dropped the baton that was too slippery,
Mm.
but hearing looking at the video again, I'm like, okay, when she came up and I was like, okay, yeah, that was on purpose.
You can
It
see
would
it
have,
go, the arm go back. That's what everybody was
yeah,
talking
it
about,
would have
you know?
been one thing had she actually dropped the
Mm-hmm.
baton after she hit her, but she still held on to it. So I'm like, I will say the track lanes are very close to each other, so it is possible that they were elbow and elbow. Do I think the misdemeanor, because they're high school kids, right?
Yes, high school.
Do I
Virginia high
think the
school.
misdemeanor charges needed to be filed? No, but I understand why. Because I think honestly, it's probably from an insurance claim where, like, we can't. The insurance probably won't cover it unless a charges are filed and you say it's assault. It kind of reminded me of that aunt that had to sue her nephew because she broke her wrist when he jumped into her wrist, and she's like, I have to sue him because, insurance claim. So I'm kind of wondering, is it an
Hmm.
insurance thing? Why they had to file a misdemeanor charge? Because
Hmm.
I mean, high school sports get heated all the time. Go to a high school basketball
Right,
game.
right. Football,
Yeah, I do think
yeah.
she is being painted as the villain, but it's kind of hard to say that wasn't on purpose.
So, she's quoted as saying after a couple times of hitting her, my baton got stuck behind her back and it rolled up her back. And she lost her balance when she pumped her arms again. She got hit. She was cutting in when it happened, when she should have waited a little bit longer. So, of course, on social media, people are like, so now you're blaming the victim? It's like, um, yeah. But she also had supporters. She had people out there that were like, you're making too big a case out of this. It's sports, like you said, Anthony. It
Hmm.
gets aggressive. It's competitive. What's the big deal? Princess, what are your thoughts on this? What were your initial thoughts when you saw the video?
I didn't see the video, but what I want to say about this is why I say the best way to stay safe and not get hit with a baton is don't run. Just say no to sports, y'all. Say no to sports. Do something, take up literature, foreign
You
language,
know what?
singing, something like that. But this
Chess
is just
club.
an example, it's not safe.
It's dangerous out there. It's dangerous in these streets. Why did I
Dangerous out
have a
there.
feeling she was gonna say that? I had a feeling she might.
You know me.
Just don't do it. Just don't do
You
it.
know me. You know why I don't get injured on the track?
Because she don't get on the track.
I love it. I love it. Bro, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I love my wife. Uh, well. Here's the thing.
Mhm.
Sports in its you know rarest form is competition anyway.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So and like most competitions, they would get heated.
Mhm.
And just like Anthony, I've run track,
Mhm.
and and especially when you're like say when the lanes are tight like that, and
Mhm.
everybody's
Mhm.
jockeying for position,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because even though yes, now was she wrong for hitting her with the baton? Yeah, but even then, when you look at any type of race like that, everybody's jockeying. The other young lady is actually elbowing her.
Mhm.
They're
Mhm.
it's a lot of jockeying going
Right.
on. But I think the charges were mainly brought because the situation went viral.
I was
Uh,
wondering that too, bro. With that,
yes,
when Anthony said,
and yeah,
yeah,
and because and
yeah.
because of that, because normally it would have been a
Mhm.
situation that okay, well, okay, you've been, just like basketball or football when there's certain
Mhm.
infractions. Okay, you might be suspended for the next meet or
Mhm.
something like that, but
Right.
not to the point where there's law enforcement getting
Mhm.
involved and charges and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
think I think because it went viral,
Mhm.
uh, and unfortunately, it's high school.
Yeah.
This is something that we hope that it doesn't follow her, throughout the
Mhm.
rest of her career and things like that. Because, like I
Mhm.
said, things happen, things get
Mhm.
heated,
Mhm.
in situations like that. Was she wrong? Yes. Should it gotten to the point where it's is, where criminal charges and stuff like that have been charged. No, because at the end of the day, you know, once again, you're still talking about high school. You're still talking about kids
Right.
that they're
Right.
still trying to navigate a whole lot of situations,
Mm-hmm.
let alone, sports and all that. So I just think
Mm-hmm.
that it was an unfortunate incident that
Mm-hmm.
happened. Unfortunate that the young lady got hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because even for her, not only did she get hit, but she actually fell off the track.
Yeah, she had a concussion.
Yeah.
She had a concussion. So
So
my question for all you guys is, do you think she would have been better off, you know, coming out and saying, I got in the heat of the moment, I feel really bad about what I did, I have having some remorse about it. 'Cause I think part of the problem too was for folks like, okay, we are watching the video. We see that this was clearly intentional, you know, instead of coming up with, the statement she did, trying to explain it in this, kind of roundabout way. Do you think it would have been better off for her just to just own up to it? Yeah, Anthony, what do you think?
Um, yes and no. It definitely would have made it better if you of course, take accountability for anything you've done. But I mean, either way, she was still going to be painted as the villain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's
I
just the.
agree
I mean, and
because
and and we know why. We know why.
yeah, I think, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I agree. I think part of it is once certain things are out there,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's going to have their viewpoint of it, and everybody's going to make a comment based upon
Mm-hmm.
what they want to, how they view it, and even in how they're feeling that day. Oh,
Right.
she should be in jail, and this is, and you're going to have people that are, you know, not like us,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they're going to view it and even try to take it to the most extreme because anything that we do, they want to paint as criminal and situations like that. So, but once again,
Absolutely.
I think it was just an unfortunate situation. I think if she just said, what, I'm sorry for what happened. I feel bad about it. I
Mm-hmm.
can't take it back. It
Mm-hmm.
is what it is, and at the same time, I accept whatever the school deems necessary. If
Mm-hmm.
if it had, and I think part of it was she got some bad advice from her parents or whoever was around her. If
Right.
she had basically apologized to the young lady, apologized to the school,
Mm-hmm.
apologized to her teammates and things like that, I
Mm-hmm.
think, and then let the school say, okay, well, we're gonna have to just suspend you for the next,
Mm-hmm.
situation.
Yeah.
I think that would have been the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You agree, Princess? Disagree?
I mean, I don't think I know enough to really comment, but what I will say, y'all are
Stay on
learning
the track.
I bet she won't get back on. No, I'm just kidding.
Just
That's not
say
what I
no.
was gonna say.
Just say no.
Just say no to
I
that.
think nowadays accountability is hard to come by.
It really. You're right,
It's not
though.
really the reigning way of doing
Yeah.
things, admitting
You are spot
fault
on.
and saying sorry. That's not really what you see these days.
No,
It's
not
a
at all.
sad state of
Yeah.
affairs, but
That is valid.
I don't know why I would expect more from a high school student than I would
Yeah.
some other
You're right. Right. Yes, very valid point. Okay, well, I share Bro's sentiment in that I do hope this doesn't follow her,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and ruin her career in the future. Hopefully, she can shake it off and move forward and keep striving. Okay, so I wasn't planning on talking about this today because I kind of forgot about it, but then Bro just reminded me with the comment he made. Not like us. So let's talk about the Super
Mm-mm.
Bowl. Let's talk about Super Bowl. We gotta talk about it because I've been wanting to talk about it, and then we
Get it, babe.
go ahead, Bro.
You did not turn your head to the
Sure
side.
did.
We're gonna have to leave this show.
That's right.
The memes about the Super Bowl have been the best.
Oh my gosh, the memes have been amazing. Okay, so
I love it because they finally get it. They are not like us.
they are not like us, and
They
Yeah.
don't
but
get it.
people didn't initially. A lot of people didn't initially get it, right? The message, and so forth. Which, by the way, I was one of those people that got accused of not getting it. But let me clarify this right now, since I have this one, because I moved past it, but I just got to say this. All right, so I am not a Samuel Jackson fan. All right, and I have my reasons, which my you all know. I won't go into it, but not a fan. Not a fan. Haven't been. So I posted a comment saying like, why is he here? When I first saw him come on, right? This initial thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who know me and know why, they got it, right?
Yeah.
But boy, the next day, my feed was like cluttered with, shame on yous and you don't understand and you missed the message and all this. No, I didn't. I loved it. I love the
Yeah.
Halftime Show. Which, by the way, when I posted, I love the show. No one had anything to say about that because the society we live in, they want to just, find a reason to rip you apart, right? It is what it is. But no, seriously though, it was powerful. It was powerful, and you had to go online. There was a lot to unpack. Everything from like it being a game controller, scenario, all the dancers and the.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, a lot of folks were focused on the song itself because we all know the song has to do with the whole beef with, him and Drake and everything. And I was like texting Anthony, all the memes, all the parodies about, Drake and so forth. I'm like, Drake can get a break. I mean, there was a nun doing the dance to the song. I was done.
Song.
Oh my goodness. The song is popping. I can't.
It really is.
Mm-hmm. Every time it comes to the radio in the car, I'm two-stepping while I'm driving, but anyway, no, I thought it was a really wonderful show. I thought he did an amazing job. Everything, the whole from the aesthetics, the messages, the outtakes with Samuel Jackson and him playing the Uncle Sam character and all of that. I thought it was really well done, really well executed, flawless. And what were your thoughts? What were your initial thoughts? I'm gonna start with Bro.
I think it was very well thought out. I thought the timing of everything was totally. This to me was just like Prince singing "Purple Rain in the Rain."
Yes.
Because it's all about timing.
Yes.
Because especially in the climate that we're in,
Mm-hmm.
and on top of that, the president
was there.
But I think a lot of people didn't initially get a lot of it because when you're on TV, you really can't get the full effect of it because you're not seeing the full stage all at one time. So there's a lot of stuff, just like the the video game and things like that. You're not seeing it in real time because you're getting close-ups of stuff where you got to look at all of it, and how everything is moving. And everyone has to understand productions like that take months.
Oh yeah.
Months. It's not like they just decided to just do that the week before. Like, no, that takes months and months of planning and practicing and syncing and getting everything in place, and because and with Serena being there, and and a lot of people didn't get her thing, but
like, where'd she come from?
Because she got fined for doing the exact same thing after winning after winning a title. But once again, there have been others in her sport that have done far worse,
right,
and never have seen any type of fines or penalties and things like that. But but all of it was, and it's talking about how the whole field was a prison yard and things like that. So it was a political statement, and because a lot of times it went over a lot of people's head because they didn't understand the message, which that's why I think when it comes down to it, Kendrick Lamar is one of the true artists of our era when it comes to hip hop.
He's brilliant,
and being political. Right now, when it comes to hip hop, he's like the Marvin Gaye of hip hop.
I would
In my
agree.
opinion, because Marvin Gaye was very political in a lot of his
Mhm.
messages.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
kudos.
Yeah. And it's interesting because reading all the comments online, those serious football fans
Yeah.
were like, yeah, I just want to see the game. I want to get it over with and get back to the game. And I didn't even realize, half the messages that were in there kind of thing. And I even
Hmm.
saw one back and forth where they were talking about like, okay, halftime show is supposed to be, fun and exciting about who's the artist. I'm not there to see a political statement. There's a lot of those kind of comments as well. I
Hmm.
I don't need to tell you who they were from,
Yeah.
not like us. So, but but yeah, yeah. I don't know, Princess Anthony, any thoughts on it? Did you enjoy it?
Um,
Did you get the
go,
message?
go
Did you
ahead,
get the message
sis.
initially, I should say?
I enjoyed it, and that'll be the end of my commentary on this.
Okay. Anthony.
All right. Oh man, so much to unpack there. Um, I thought I enjoyed it. I actually had to watch it twice
Mm,
because I watched I watched bits and pieces of it when it aired live, but I was also at work. We had it on one of the computers, and then I went back and so I got the gist of it, and then I went home and I rewatched it again, and that's when I
yeah.
put it all together.
Hmm.
And again, I thought it was a phenomenal show. And bro, I see your Marvin Gaye and raise you a Bob Dylan of hip hop. Um, yeah. um, but I mean, and Serena being there, I mean, of course, everyone's like, why is Serena there? I'm like, y'all forget she's from Compton.
Right.
She's from Compton.
Exactly.
She's from Compton, and on top of that, we knew. I mean, hip hop fans, we knew why she was there because she was there to poke fun at Drake because they dated a long
Hmm.
time ago. So
Hmm.
that was just the nail in the coffin. And I gotta say, and one of the two of the funniest memes that I've seen is the one where like somebody goes Kendrick the whole show. And he's like he's not really showing his face, and all of a sudden, then when he goes not like us, he goes say Drake, and he looked dead in the camera.
That was the pivotal moment. Like that
That
look
was
in
the
the
pivotal
camera was
moment.
everything. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
A
said
lot of
he
memes
said
on
say
that.
he looked dead in that camera. I think I sent us a meme where I said, if I send you this picture, that means I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
And then but no, somebody actually took that performance
Mm,
and Diva, I think I sent it to you. They synced it up with the song Safety Dance. And
yeah.
it hits. It hits. It hits. They synced it up with Safety Dance.
I
And I was
have
like,
to
oh my
see that.
God.
There's so
Yeah.
many brilliant somebody
Yeah.
picked up a Smooth Criminal with the
Yeah.
Smooth Criminal video and it worked
Yeah.
perfectly. Like all the
Yeah.
Yeah.
pauses and the
Yeah,
I'm missing a lot.
yeah, and kudos to SZA also,
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
because
I like
one
her.
thing, yeah, because one thing I saw a lot of comments where people were saying that even for her, she was bringing back real vocals and also showing that you could be beautiful and talented and you don't have to have
Mhm.
all your clothes off to entertain.
Yes. Her outfit I love that outfit. That red
Yeah.
was yeah.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I mean, I was just a lot of pride,
Yeah.
in
Hmm.
seeing that, and hopefully it's going to inspire a lot of other young hip hop artists to be more conscious
Yeah.
in
Hmm.
in their messaging.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Cause
I,
go ahead, Anthony.
well, no, I just say I love Samuel Jackson. He goes too loud,
Too
too
loud.
black, too ghetto.
Ghetto.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I really like Kendrick Lamar and because of course I'm partial to like our 90s hip hop artists.
Hmm.
I just until Kendrick I was just kind of like, oh, hip hop is kind of thinking a little bit,
Yep.
um all right. So moving on. Anthony, I'm gonna let you talk about I'm gonna let you talk about Marvin Sapp.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Because but here's the thing. I'll let you go ahead and start, and I'll you go ahead.
So I saw the story this morning as I was literally on my way into work, and I put it in the group, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, I hope we at least talk. We might mention this, but Marvin Sapp
Yeah.
For those who
Told
don't know, tell them who Marvin Sapp is.
Marvin Sapp is arguably one of the greatest gospel artists of all time, no doubt about it. Never would have made it. That's him. If you don't know any
Mhm,
Marvin Sapp, you
Yeah.
definitely know never would have made it if you hear
mhm.
it.
Yeah.
But apparently, he told his congregation. No, he didn't tell his congregation. He told his ushers lock the doors and don't let anybody out until they sow a seed of $4,000.
40.
Forty thousand dollars.
$40,000. Yes.
Forty thousand
Yes.
dollars.
40 grand.
And be like, let me pull out my sleeping bag and pillow.
And
We gonna
he
be
told the
there a
pastors,
while.
Wake me when y'all get it. Wake me when you get it.
he
Exactly.
told the pastors, put your 20 away and they need to donate 100. He said it costs to sit up here.
Yeah.
So needless to say, so now this happened actually at last year. This happened last year, but someone the video apparently resurfaced and it's been all over the internet. And of course he's been facing backlash. People have been saying like, "What is he doing? You're holding people hostage. It's like kidnapping." I mean, all these
It
things.
is.
Seeing about it. So he did put a statement out on his Facebook, and he said some have taken particular issue with that moment. I instructed the ushers rather firmly to close the doors during the offering. And he says those unfamiliar with the church context who may not regularly attend worship gatherings, this has been misinterpreted. So he goes on to say the truth is when finances are being received at any worship gathering, it's the most vulnerable and exposed times for both the finance and security teams. Moment is sacred, and goes on to talk about having a safe environment, and that was his reason for saying close the doors. I watched the video, right? That I didn't take it like that. I didn't take it as just a safety measure, and maybe also because I was in that position probably 20 years ago now. I went to visit a friend's church and we're sitting there and they were doing the offerings and it's passing around the collection plate and the preacher was doing his spiel about it. Everybody pull out your checkbook and write $100 check. I'm seeing fur coats, I'm seeing diamond rings and all diamond necklaces, and there's Lexuses and Mercedes in the parking lots. You can afford $100. And people are kind of just looking at him. A few people were kind of getting out and he says, I don't see enough people digging in their purse or their pocket or their wallet. Do I need to
Mhm.
have security lock the doors? To which point I looked at my friend and I was like, it's time for me to go. Because I'm not going to be locked in nobody's church. That was not happening, and people, not everyone, but a lot of people started walking out, but there were people there getting their checkbooks out and, writing and such. So
Mhm.
anyway, yeah, I not a whole lot
Oh
to say about this other than I don't know. I think it's weird.
yeah.
It does give a you're trapped here feel.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
inappropriate. Especially at
Absolutely.
church. Um,
Absolutely.
Princess thoughts.
I'm Catholic. It don't go down like that up in my mass. And I'm very uncomfortable.
A priest isn't gonna do that. Okay.
There's a lot of pressure. I can't just go to anybody's church, right?
Yeah.
So that would
Mhm.
be proof
Yeah.
positive. So why I'm
Mhm.
like,
Yeah. Anthony,
roll
well,
like
you gotta talk about
Well,
your thoughts, bro. What are your thoughts on it?
well, coming from the deep South,
Yeah.
and growing up in the Baptist church and uh shameless plug, our oldest son is senior pastor,
Yes.
of a church.
Hmm.
Everyone does things differently. Now that's no, and that's something that even for me, because I've seen that happen before, where you would have pastors say, "Oh, hold on, before we leave, we need 10 more people to come down and donate this, and we need X amount of people need to do this," you
Hmm.
know, and it's sometimes it's for different reasons. Uh, uh, I think everyone does it different. Now, one thing I can respect about, in shameless plug, about our son, even when they, do their offerings at
Hmm.
church, the first thing that he says is, if you're a visitor, this is not for you.
Wow, that's
You
nice.
know, this
Yeah.
this is strict. This is strictly for the members. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
when it comes to offering, we're just
Mhm.
sowing into the church. You know, we
Right.
have building
Right.
funds and things like that. So if you're a guest, we welcome you, but you do not. This is not for you. If you choose to do that, that's fine. But but we're not
Mhm.
putting you in that. This is strictly for the church and sowing into the church and keeping the
Mhm.
church. You know, because just
Mhm.
like the church is a business like anything else. The lights got to
Right.
stay on. But to go to the point where you're telling people we got to raise $40,000,
Right.
that takes it to a whole now that's something that normally would happen, you know, when you have a financial meeting,
Mhm. Mhm.
after services,
Mhm.
and because all churches have like a annual financial
Yeah.
situation. So sometimes what would happen is they'll say after service, whoever can stay, we're going to have our annual financial, meetings, and that's when they would give everyone, a situation, because they say, okay, this is where we are, this is what we need, because you have donors, you have, like I said, you have deacons, you have, mother board, you have a board of the church. You have
Mhm.
a treasurer, you
Mhm.
have a treasurer and secretaries that they handle those situations. But I think there, the way it was done and how it was done, especially for someone, like you said, for someone that was probably just coming there just to be a visitor,
Right.
and it feel like, okay, now I'm being held against my will, unless
Mhm.
you're forcing me to do something that I'm not comfortable with.
Mhm.
Where's the God in that?
Right. Right.
You
That's
know,
my big
this
issue with
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah. I never went back. Needless to say, I never went back to that church. I had
Mhm.
gone there. I had gone there a couple of times, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
But
day, I was like, "Whoa, this is
yeah,
okay." And needless to
yeah,
say, it's no longer around. It folded
yeah,
not long after.
yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
because of
I don't know.
your $100 withheld, Diva.
Right,
You are the reason
I'm the
that
reason I
church
didn't get my $100.
failed.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
I hope I hope the Lord will forgive
I,
you.
you know,
Yeah, because I remember like years ago,
mm,
they had a
mm.
they had a similar situation with TD Jakes, because
Hmm.
people were frowning upon him because they had installed ATM machines in the
Oh, I
church.
know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So they had installed ATM machines in the
What?
church so people can go. And there are certain churches, there have been churches known to call before you can become a member of the
Mhm,
church,
mhm.
they want to see your W-2.
I have heard that before.
Yeah.
I have heard that. No, absolutely not. You're not gonna be in my finances
Yeah.
like that.
Oh,
I have heard that. But
wow.
see, this
Yeah.
all the things you're mentioning, bro, and even this story.
Hmm.
This is, and what's sad about it is this is why a lot of folks are like, I'm not trying to go to church. There's a lot of people
Yeah.
that want to go to church, but they don't because of what you're saying, that pressure, like,
Yeah.
Hmm.
oh, I don't have, I don't have $100 to give. I might have $5 to give.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Because we live in a day and age of the mega churches.
yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
And that's across the board, white, black, or whatever. You have
Hmm.
these mega churches, and sometimes we want to keep up with certain
Hmm.
situations,
Yeah,
and we forget the true meaning of church and true meaning of service,
Yes.
which is you're
absolutely.
supposed to be, because back in the 50s and 60s and 70s,
Hmm.
whatever, the
Mm.
church was the centerpiece of the neighborhood.
Hmm. Right,
Yes.
If
right,
something went down, the church was always the safe haven.
right.
Even through the civil, this, all the civil unrest that we've had
Hmm.
in this country,
Yep.
for people of color, at one point the church was the safe haven.
Yes.
All the meetings were held at churches,
Sure. Yep.
and churches did all the food giveaways and the clothing drives and all that,
Hmm.
Bibles. But it became a point where a lot of people started running away from church because, like, where's the church in the community? We don't see the church doing anything in the community like they used to.
Hmm.
But you're always asking for money.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So where's it going?
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
So where's it
I
going?
mean, there's preachers that have allegedly had like 2 planes and 5 swimming
Oh
pools
yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
3 houses and so
Yeah. But can't pay grandmama's utility bill.
right, right. So
Hmm.
yeah, well, Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting story. Thank you for
Yeah.
that, Anthony. Thanks for
You're
saying that.
welcome. You're
Last one I want
welcome.
to talk about briefly is you remember In Vogue, 90s group.
Yes.
In Vogue, one of my favorite groups of the 90s. One of the members, Dawn Robinson, she did an IG live a couple weeks ago saying that she's been homeless for about 3 years. And it, became kind of a story. She did an interview with Angela Yee, on her podcast, Way Up with Angela Yee, and talked a little bit about it, where she revealed, again, that, she had been homeless. And as she talks about it, she explains that initially she had a manager who was, I guess supposed to be getting her a deal or helping her out in some way. She was supposed to be staying with him, and then that didn't work out. Not enough space, so he was paying for her to stay in a hotel. I think it was 6 to 8 months, something around there. And I saw the initial video she put out, and I was like, "Whoa!" I was shocked, like everyone else. But then she came out later and she said she wanted to clarify, and said that she was staying with her parents, initially, and things weren't working out. Then did the manager thing, and then she's made a decision that staying in the hotel, it was costly, and so she did some exploration. She said she researched actually
Mhm.
living in your car and made the decision. Now, I don't know who amongst you saw her initial video. I didn't get that initially. It almost felt like she came back afterwards to kind of clean things up a little bit. The initial video seemed real raw, and because she even said something to the effect of, I can't believe I'm actually saying this now,
Mhm.
So, but what was sad to me is I'm so tired of this story of artists that were at one point in time, at least should have been making all this money and, maybe be set, to go from that to now living out of your car, being homeless. And, comments online, a lot of people were saying, okay, so at what point in time is it time to say, this music thing is done. Maybe I need to get a regular 9 to 5, maybe I need to go get an office job or, whatever. Which I thought was kind of cruel because that's her livelihood, her passion, and the hope that she was sold that things were going to kind of pop off again, and it didn't. So, I don't know, bro. Being in the business and understanding the struggles and all of that. What were some of your thoughts about this? Is it really that easy to go from like, um, say we're in Vogue? I mean, they were real popular. In fact, I think they're touring again now. The three of the members,
Mhm.
to living in your car. Like it can be just that simple.
Yeah, people sometimes they mistake fame for wealth.
Mm,
You could be known, you can be famous, you can have a song out, but that doesn't mean you're making any money.
mhm,
Uh,
mhm,
and on top of that, and even then, when you're in a group, which means now you got to split whatever that money is. You got to split it 3 ways, 4 ways, however
mhm,
many ways, you know. And depending on, once again, because the main money that a lot of times artists make initially is
mhm,
not, yeah, you got platinum records, but that doesn't mean but you had platinum debt to make
mhm,
the platinum record.
mhm,
So, and a lot of times, the main way artists make the money initially is not from the sales of the record, but from the tours and the shows that they do and the performances.
right.
Uh, so, but at one point in time, of course, of course, she decided to leave the group
Yeah.
because
Yep.
of the situations that everybody had creative differences, and
Mhm.
she wanted to do some, and even then, if you recall, she actually teamed up with Raphael Sadiq, and they had a group
Yes.
called Lucy Pearl.
Lucifer. Love them. I love them.
you
Yes.
know so she's done stuff throughout the
Mhm,
industry,
mhm,
um but sometimes it just get to a point where, unless you have enough consistency in marketing and
mhm.
promoting yourself, things like that.
Yeah.
Because in this industry, you have to continue to stay relevant. And
Mhm,
if you're an artist, the main way you stay relevant is that you continue to perform and things like that. It's not
mhm,
always a new
mhm,
record, but just like with Confunction's been around for 50 years,
mhm.
but they've never stopped performing.
Right.
and
Right.
so they stay relevant in that way, and just like a lot of artists, Gladys Knight or
Mhm.
whomever you want to look at, they
Yeah.
stay relevant because they've
Mhm.
never stopped performing.
Mhm.
And for
Mhm.
her, when she left In Vogue,
Mhm.
if you know, In Vogue had changed members several
Yeah,
times.
several times.
You
Oh yeah.
know,
Mhm.
Maxie left, and then Maxie came
Mhm.
back, and then
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
so, but unfortunately, that is a tale of artists, because
Mhm.
a lot of times when you're trusting people to handle your business and
Mhm.
they don't handle your business right,
Yeah.
and 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 everyone's thinking, especially when you're on that high, you're thinking that the money is going to just always be there,
Right.
and you get a lot of mismanagement.
Mhm.
That, I mean, there's so many horror stories. That's why they have the behind the scenes
Yeah.
episodes and all that kind of stuff
I
of
like
all these
watching
situations.
those. Yeah, those are
Love
interesting.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they're usually
but if you
tragic.
notice it,
It's
yeah,
like,
but that's what I'm saying. But if you notice, all those situations kind of like have
yeah,
the same scenario. They
yeah.
were big and they did this, and next thing you know,
Mhm.
something happened, and then and the money left, and when the
Mhm.
money leaves, all the people leave, and
Mhm. Mhm.
and all the family members that you're taking care of, and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So yeah, but I think the one thing that, unfortunately, like I said, she did have to backtrack, because people started doing GoFundMe's for her and things like that,
Mhm.
because they feel, and then, but because then she was like, yeah, well, I was talking to my manager and my agent. They're like, hold on, you homeless and you got a manager and an agent?
Right.
What?
Right. I saw that. Yeah.
You
And
know,
an assistant. I think
yeah,
somewhere
and
said she had an
assistant.
assistant too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, well, what's, yeah.
Wait a minute, hold on. Now so how come you can afford them, but they can't put you up?
Right. Right.
Because they making money off you.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I do
So,
wish her well. I hope, I don't know if she'll
oh
make a
yeah,
comeback or something at some point. I do hope she ends up, getting out of her car at least. Yeah, it was just a sad story to me. And it just made me mad. It's just like, here's another one of these stories where these artists that should not ever have been in this position. Look at like TLC and you know, uh all these different artists that just kind of got screwed over,
yeah,
financially. And there's no way. And like you said, we don't know. We think we see someone that's famous, we're like, oh, they're filthy rich. They got all this money. We
Mhm.
don't know the behind the scenes and all the people they have to pay, and the tour cost and all the stuff that goes on behind it. And then they look up and it's like, oh, I'm broke. So
yeah,
all right. Well, before we wrap up, just want to just acknowledge we lost a couple of the greats, Roberta Flack, Angie Stone. That was a shocker. I love Angie Stone. Like
Yeah.
I
I
had just seen her a
what?
few weeks before that because
Really?
her
Whoa.
music director passed away. He's a
yeah,
Nigerian.
yeah. A good friend of mine, Jonathan Richmond.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
And she came to,
Yeah.
pay respects, and she sang a few songs at the,
yeah,
gathering.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
Oh, wow.
just weeks later, it was
Yeah.
so
yeah.
bizarre.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
her,
was
Yeah.
her, yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Her and Eric Benet came for his funeral, and
Mm,
ironically, he passed away January 1st, and she
mm.
passed away March 1st.
Wow.
So it was,
Wow.
yeah, so it was a
That's
tragic
sad.
situation. So
Mm. Yeah, very, very sad. Did you say
one of the
Eric?
founding females of hip hop.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A lot of people didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that just
Wow.
struck me. I read it. I just sat there
Yeah.
like it was so unbelievable, right? It's just and such a freak accident at that.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So, well, rest in peace, Angie, Roberta
Rest in
Flack.
peace,
Gene Hackman. I was a big Gene Hackman fan.
George
Yeah.
Foreman just passed.
George Foreman.
What?
Yes, I just saw
Hmm.
that. George Foreman. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
he
George Foreman passed
Today?
passed.
away.
yeah.
No,
No, he
No,
it
about
was
two
over the
days ago.
weekend,
it was
wasn't
like
it?
over
Yeah,
the weekend. It was recent, a few days
yeah,
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
I just
Oh
saw that
my
pop up. Like
God.
Saturday, I think I saw it pop up.
yeah. George Foreman
Thank you.
passed
I
Yeah.
away.
forgot about
George
that. Yeah,
Foreman. Yeah.
Talking about George Foreman. I
Yeah.
didn't know the
I
brother
still
was
have.
gone.
I still
Oh
have my
no.
grill. My George
Same
Foreman
here.
grill.
Oh yeah.
I still
Yeah,
have mine. The one I very first bought. It's old when it first came out.
Yeah.
Um,
My
Shoot, that
goodness.
grill saved my life many a times in
oh
college.
man, love the grill. So quick and
Used to,
easy, and easy
yeah,
clean out.
And
yep.
all his kids are named George.
That's why I was
Yep.
talking about that, brother. Because
Yep.
remember we were doing all the names that are aged names, and then we
Yeah.
start talking about like
hmm
naming kids after like the juniors, the
Right.
thirds, and all that. I was like, let a child have their own identity. And he
For
done named
real.
all his
Right.
kids.
Yeah.
For
It's funny.
real.
My brother's a junior, but my dad was adamant. He does not like nicknames. He's like, we will never call him Junior. It's like, well, he said, I don't want him.
Yeah.
He needs his own. He has my dad's name, but
Yeah.
he didn't want that nickname Junior. My dad's like, no, we're not calling him that.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
all right, peeps. Well, it has been fun. As always, thanks for playing. It was fun just to catch up and talk about all the things going on. So we'll catch you all again. Look for us end of April, last Thursday of the month. We'll just do kind of a wrap up of current events and entertainment news. And be well, stay safe out there, stay aware. Lots going on in the world. Stay prayed up,
Yes.
and get that $100 check ready for your church. No, I'm just playing.
Mm-mm.
Have your checkbook
Mm-mm.
when you go to
Nope.
church. You might get the doors locked.
Hold on.
That's your escape plan.
Before we leave right now, I need the three of y'all to donate $1,000 each. I need.
Nope.
Actually, I'm in favor of that one.
Hold on.
Right. I bet you are.
Hold on.
You need how much, bro? How much?
Yeah, see, I need the three of y'all. Hold on. Tell the producer of the show to hold that button, lock that button where we gonna stay
Diva?
on air. We
Hey,
gonna stay on air.
nobody
Diva Pat?
can log out.
Nobody
Hold
can-
on.
Nobody can log out until
Nobody can
1,000.
stop watching until
The Venmo is complete.
Yeah,
Diva?
Click the link below.
Diva, pass me the baton.
Right. Make sure you
Bring
get
it back around.
that slow motion action. You got to raise your back.
I'm gonna have to go watch that video.
Oh man.
Yeah, princess, and let me know what you think because I'm curious.
Yeah.
Everybody I've talked to, they were like, "Yeah, no, there's no cleaning that up. It's
No.
just too obvious. Just too obvious." But anyway, all right, peeps. Take care, be well, and we'll see you next time.
K-Cee Soul, baby.